Glad to be with you here today to talk a little bit about our Florida peanut varieties. So I'm just going to list 5 of them here, and the top 2, the Flow Run 52N and Arnie, have already been mentioned a couple times today. Those are the normal lake varieties that we have available, and you've already seen how much acreage there is available of those, so pretty good uptake of those varieties. I'll show you some information about those, and the bottom 4 there are normal lake varieties. The T61 725, and that's a relatively new one I'll talk about. Not a lot of acreage of it out there, but it looks really strong from a disease standpoint. I won't talk a lot about the other 2 at the bottom. The 297 331 are mostly grown in South Carolina. Those are Ohio Lake types that have been out quite a while. So first, Flow Run 52N. About 3 years out since we released this variety. It does have small seed size, medium maturity, about 140 days in our Florida environments under irrigation. 3-ton yield potential has been really good in terms of yield and grade. Show some data from our on-farm tests as well. Diseases, it's pretty standard. It has the same disease profile on our Peanut RX as Georgia 06G does, and I'll show that data. It is a little bit smaller vine. It's not quite as large in terms of the vine size. It tends to invert well, pick pretty easily, and less need for a growth regulator in terms of the overall vine size. Arnie is another medium variety, normal lake with medium runner seed size. It's not quite as small as the 52N, but it is close. Medium maturing variety, good yield potential, also very good grades. And you'll see in the bottom right hand corner, I pointed out that it has a unique characteristic in that when you look at it after you invert it, you'll see about 20% of the pods have 3 seeds in them. That's part of the heritage of that variety, the fact that it comes from some unique germplasm I'll talk about when we get to the disease resistance part. It is moderately susceptible to white mold, so it does need protection there, similar to 06G in that category. Leaf spot, it's also moderately susceptible. The outstanding disease resistance it has is tomato spotted wilt. It has a unique germplasm background for spotted wilt resistance. Really is outstanding, a variety that you could plant prior to May 1 with lower risk. So that's why I put potential for early planting there. And then Flow Run T61 are switching now to the high oleics. It's a medium runner seed size, a bit larger than those other 2. It's a bit later too, maybe 5 days later or so, a week later than the Arnie and the 52N. Good yield potential, it's shown good grades as well. Among the varieties I'm going to talk about, besides 725, it has good white mold tolerance as well. It is susceptible to late leaf spot, but very good against tomato spotted wilt. So I think those 2 diseases, spotted wilt and white mold, are 2 characteristics that this variety stands out in. This is a relatively new one. This is kind of one that would be the category of on the horizon. I think there were a total of 382 acres in certified production. That's across all the classes from foundation through certified seed or registered seed, really the first year. It's a smaller seeded type too, probably similar to Flow Run 52N in its seed size. It is medium maturity, good yield potential, good grades. But when I get to the index part here, you'll see it has a similar disease profile to 12Y in terms of its resistance to white mold, leaf spot, and tomato spotted wilt virus. So also, like Arnie, has potential for early planting because of that outstanding tomato spotted wilt virus resistance. And they share the same genetics in that regard in terms of where the resistance for spotted wilt comes from. So it is different. Those 2 have a unique type of genetics in the market now for spotted wilt resistance. So it also has a light green color, just kind of, you see where that arrow is there, pointing out in one of our on-farm demo trials. It does look light green. There's nothing wrong with the variety. It just stands out as being a little bit lighter green. So that's another characteristic of it that you might notice if you get to plant that variety. So the Peanut RX, and you can access this online at just peanutrx.org. Each year we meet in December, and by we I mean folks from Georgia, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, Mississippi. We all meet together to compare results on disease reaction of varieties. And so these are the peanut disease index for values for spotted wilt, leaf spot, and white mold for these 4 varieties here. And if you notice, I'll just kind of go down the line for disease and talking about each variety as we go for disease. So Arnie and 725 have a 5 on that index. And I mentioned before they have really outstanding resistance to tomato spotted wilt. That comes from a unique source that when I first came here in 2004, my predecessor, Dr. Dan Gorban and Albert Culberth, were working on this resistance, and it really was outstanding. When we had severe epidemics of that disease, you would see in the field just mostly yellow plants that were severely diseased. and then small green islands of a resistant type that was out there, and it really stood out. And so over the last 20 years or more, we've been working with this resistance, and these varieties descend from that resistance. They have similar resistance to that resistant parent, just outstanding tomato spotted wilt virus resistance. And then the 52N and T61 have a 10 on the index, and they're very good, but not quite as good as those varieties. And I would say that those two varieties, the Arnie and 725, I would be a lot more amenable to planting early with lower risk than even those in a 10 on the category. Now, if you look at leaf spot, most of them have a 20 there except 725, and as I mentioned before, if you look at 725 across the whole thing, it has a disease profile resistance similar to 12Y, but it's not a late maturing variety, it's a medium maturing variety. In that 15, we've seen that it does perform really well in the presence of late leaf spot when it's severe, and I think that it's a variety that could do two things for you. Either it helps with resilience if you happen to be in a case where you miss a spray and can't get to the field to spray, then it would be less risky for late leaf spot in that case. And it may be that if you have a good rotation, you're able to reduce risk with other factors. It'd be something that you could reduce your overall fungicide bill by reducing your number of sprays on. Otherwise, the other ones are pretty similar, need a good leaf spot program to protect them. White mold is similar. The 20 on the Arnie and 52N are pretty similar to what we're used to growing with 06G. The 725 has a 10, and the Florin 61 has a 15 there. And so I think that those, especially the 725 with a lower risk of white mold, is really important for us. That's one of the most expensive and difficult to control diseases that we have because we have to get the fungicide down to the soil. Hard to do. I think that provides some resilience and extra protection for you there with a variety like 725 and also T61. So a little bit about the disease profile of those varieties here. Just a little bit of information from our statewide variety test. This is 3 locations from 2023 to 2025 showing the pod yield, and again Arnie and 12Y and Tillman VHG, 16HO and 52N there towards the top. All are very good yields. These are very high yields. You'll see up to 8,000 pounds per acre. Of course, that's not what I expect to get on farm. You'll see that in a minute, but certainly in our conditions where we're rotating really well and really providing an outstanding environment for these varieties, they have great potential. And this is irrigated and non-irrigated data from 2025 only, just a few more varieties there to show outstanding yield potential for all these varieties, really from the top to the bottom. The potential is really there in irrigated and non-irrigated situations. Then we put them on farm where actually these are conditions where farmers, we provide them seed, they're growing the plants, they're growing about 2 acres of each variety. They harvest them, they take them to the buying point, and the buying point does the grading for us. So this is data from actual buying point situations. So this is more realistic to what we see. This is from 2024. There were 8 Florida counties where we did this from the one end of Florida peanut growing region to the other. Around 5,000 pound yields on average, and pretty good grades, especially for 52N and Arnie in this case. And the check was a mixture of different varieties. It could have been 06G, it could have been 12Y. It just depended on what the grower was growing in their field, and that's why we called it check. Not the same variety in every field. This was from 4 locations in 2025 where we did the same thing. We had a couple of other varieties there. Notice the 725 is there as well, and the Arnie and 52N again performed really well. Outstanding grades for those 2 varieties, over 5,000 pounds per acre in these demonstration plots here. And with that, I'll say thank you. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer. I don't know if we have time, but this is.
Time for one question. Anybody's got one.
So I want to thank the peanut breeding crew here that you see pictured. A lot of work goes into these, as Billy said. So thank you for that effort that they provide.